joined now by one of the men who made it, Fitch's Pryce. Thank you very much indeed for coming to join us this morning. The overall reasons for the downgrade you made quite clear. Could you just outline them for us?
Well, the main reason was the huge increase in the cost of putting right the Irish banking system and the huge bad debts incurred by particularly Anglo-Irish Bank. Now,
NAMA hasn't quite paid as much as we were expecting, has it? What's the thinking behind that? Has NAMA worked?
Well, NAMA has paid far less, reflecting the fall in value of the various loans being transferred to it, so that NAMA may well break even sometime in the next decade, but the government has to bear the additional cost immediately. And that, in the case of Anglo, is 30 billion, and rising to perhaps 20 billion more when you take in the other banks.
Now, obviously now the government has to come up with this money. Ireland has been considered the poster boy for austerity, if you like. They do have a tricky budget coming up. You've obviously still got Ireland on a watch. What are you looking for? What would you like to see in that budget?
It's not just this budget, but we have been promised by the Irish government a fairly detailed four-year plan of what they intend to cut in way of expenditure and tax increases they intend to make. We're looking for perhaps rather more than the 3 billion that they originally intended to cut in 2011 and then in 2012.
Because they need this 50 billion, because they need more money.
It's more a matter, I think, of impressing the markets with their determination. Right. And so we're talking about perhaps an extra 1 billion, taking it 3 billion rather than 4 million fiscal adjustment next year. That's probably sufficient to maintain confidence in Ireland, I would have thought. Although, politically, there's a lot of risk now. The government could well fall in the next few months.
Well, you were talking about a four-year plan, and of course you've got a four-year plan with a government, as you say, that could fall, a fairly shaky coalition. Are we looking for a situation where everybody backs this four-year plan?
I think we are. It's Ireland's traditional strength, although they fight among themselves with considerable bitterness on occasion. Nonetheless, the Irish political parties tend to have a very similar view of what the economy and what must be done for it. They're very much aware of the national interest. And providing that holds good through what is obviously going to be, if there is an election in January, February, a very awkward period, providing that holds good, I think it will be to Ireland's credit in the end.
You also mentioned the concerns over the timing and the strength of the economic recovery.
Yes.
How do you see Ireland being placed? I mean, you also did, on a positive note, say that it was actually becoming more competitive as wages, I guess, have been driven down.
Indeed, it has become a lot more competitive. Exports have already begun to improve fairly dramatically, actually. But it's a matter of whether or not there is sufficient economic growth. Given that the government is sort of beating the Irish people down, it's taking a lot of money and so on, and they are responding by saving more, there's a big question mark over whether domestic demand will be strong enough to cause an increase, a sufficient increase in gross domestic product.
And very hard to see what happens, how to get out of that particular cycle. Now, there's no bond sales to the end of this year, and you know, we've been told that they don't need them. But is that a concern for you, that when they do come to the market, we haven't really tested how the markets feel about this extra cash injection?
Well, we will have an indication from how the market deals in the secondary market, as it were. Yes, there's bound to be some slight concern. You know, January, February, March is a long way away in terms of the current economic set of problems, and no doubt people will begin to focus more carefully on them as time goes on. I think Ireland, I mean, it's well provided with reserves. The pension fund is there to be used. They've got 20 billion in cash at the moment, so we're not that worried.
Okay, Pryce, thank you very much indeed for setting all that out for us. Thank you.